It's a hackathon for social good. All right, so you need all that build up. All right, what does that really mean? Well, it means we worked on these great projects that were built with the community partners. And what it's doing is we're empowering the social enterprises and these great organizations to harness the benefits that technology can bring. Typically, there's a barrier. Certainly a barrier to entry to using technology, to getting the most out of it. But what we're doing here today is democratizing that, bringing that to these organizations, and it's not only empowering these organizations, but empowering society and citizens to help and make their community better, and be a part of making the world a better place. And it's the social enterprises, it's the community organizations, it's the nonprofits. And the reality is that the technology is here. The future, like as William Gibson said, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So not everyone knows about it. Not everyone has access to it. Not everyone has access to all the great things that technology can bring. So we're here today to help bridge a gap between the tech and the digital industries and sectors, and all those folks that know it really well. Bridge a gap to social enterprises, the community-based organizations, the schools, the kids, all that. And we're here to do that. This is part of it, but it's not the only tactic. It's not the only way to do it. This is one piece of the puzzle. In the city alone, there's a number of organizations that are trying to bring access to technology. There's Ottawa Civic Tech. It's not a similar group, but we meet once a week to talk about how citizens can contribute to society and how government and citizens can work to make the city, the country, the world a better place. The Hub is a place in Ottawa where you can go and work and has carries the same values. We have Kind Village. They're here today too, and they're a social enterprise. They're a business that's working to create great things and partnerships within the city and do make real change. And there's other hackathons in the city. There's other hackathons across the country and around the world. And Random Hacks Kindness is just one thing. And so this isn't going to end here this weekend. This is one piece of the puzzle, and then these projects will continue to live and will continue to thrive because there are these other components to another piece of the puzzle. And so Random Hacks of Kindness, we've been doing this now for about 5 years. It's brought into Ottawa by Jack here, and he gave me a call and said, hey, you should come check this out. And then so over the last few years, Brendan over here and I have picked up the reins and have been running with it and bringing it to you twice a year for the last couple of years. And again, and we're going to keep up that pace too. So Random Acts of Kindness it's a venue though. I mean, we're not owning the projects, we're not taking them over. What we're trying to do is we bring in problem owners, we bring in the community developers, we bring in these organizations and developers and designers, and we make a connection between these organizations and the developers. And so we just kind of create this really, a nice place to work and make this connection. But then we want to get out of the way so that, again, the citizens can work with organizations to make change. And we do it through a hackathon, and that's a condensed amount of time, a lot of work, lots of people all in one place. So we started Friday night, worked all day yesterday till about 11 p.m. And then a little bit this morning to get presentations ready. But that's basically what Hackathon is. And it makes real work. It makes real product. It makes, there's real value that comes out of this. One of the second or third edition, right before the federal election, Vote Savvy was launched, and it to help folks understand the choices. Ladies Learning Code, Phil here worked on the Ladies Learning Code job board. It's still operational today. It's making the money. and it started at Random Hacks Accountants. Compass is an organization that helps high school students that don't want to go to high school age students, help them catalog their teenage career and get ready for university. The Center for Social Enterprise Development, they were part of this a couple years ago, and and through Random Hacks we launched the Social Enterprise Directory. What's neat about this one is that it went on to launch, but it's now being used. This software is now being used as a prototype for Ontario. Ontario's picking up the software and going to use it for Social Enterprise Directory for Ontario. These folks here have turned Hackathon, a smart beehive, into an actual business, a product, and so they're trying, and they're actually trying to make this into real money, real product. Tim worked on a connection between Canada Helps and Salesforce, a real live practical plugin that connects these two things that are typically not connected. In October, Michael led the charge for Refugee Hub and launching this LMS. In fact, it was launched probably about 3 or 4 months after the hackathon. And I know Michael's got, and the team have got some great things to show again today. And then last October, we had Cuts for Kids, Gourmet Express, Voice Found, Trans Health Information Ottawa, and Ottawa Community Housing Foundation in. And what's great is that they've all gone, like all these projects have continued on. Some are in trying to get grants, some are trying to get money. Others, the development teams have stayed connected, and one way or another, like they found a way to keep it going. And so it's not just a one-off. We're breaking the trend. We're breaking the trend. The stigma that these hackathons end on Sunday afternoon. So they're continuing. So it's great. And so we have great organizations this weekend as well. So we have Parkdale Food Center, Social Enterprise, Growing Futures, iSisters, Rita Rockcliffe Community Resource Centers, Gift in Kind, Faribault Canada, Code My Robot, and the Sex Trade Coalition of Ottawa. Not have Ottawa Rape Crisis Center. They're one of the 20 organizations that make up the Ottawa Sex Trade Coalition. So you're going to hear from all these teams in about 2 minutes, in about 30 seconds. Before we jump into presentations, I just want to give a big thanks out to our sponsors. Adobe provides a space for free. We drank all their pop too. And this is a state-of-the-art conference center, and they provide it without any cost at all. Relish, they're an interactive agency here in town. Rebel, I work for Rebel. I went through all this, I didn't even introduce myself, so I'm Brett. And, I work at Rebel. We sell domain names and hosting, we help people contribute online. And the great thing is that the company supports all of this that we contribute to. So the great thing is that this hackathon fits into our ethos. And so I get a lot of support from the company to run these things. And of course, developers too who join in too. Matt and Sophia, you hear from them later. Click, we're another great sponsor. Ray, the great thing about our sponsors too is not only do they help provide money, but they also come and stay all weekend too. So Ray brought a whole lot of swag for everybody, and he's been here all weekend and helped me clean up a bit of mess last night. This sidebar, we got hacked last night. Some hackers created 400 instances on our cloud infrastructure and tried to mine Bitcoin. Anyways, we shut them down very quickly last night. Foci Solutions, like I said, our sponsors are contribute. So Foci has been here all weekend too, and last October, but the whole team's been here all weekend working hard. Industrial, another interactive agency here in town. Extreme Networks provided all of our Wi-Fi for the weekend. A little bit of a hiccup there yesterday too, but All good. Canadian Banknote, Brandon here was a Canadian Banknote, and they show support, and Amazon Web Services has provided credits for all the fantastic cloud stuff we do all weekend. Okay, that's about it for me. Thank you for listening to a little bit about why we do this. So we're going to get right on into presentations. And so if you folks want to come on up, we'll get you hooked up.
You can look at me. All right, sweet.
All right. So hey everyone, we are the team, part of the team here for RHoK Canada, and so we're going to start off by talking about who we are, as we have technical difficulties.
Yeah, the slides aren't working, right? Can't really. Maybe I should just click. Sure. Actually, what I'll do is. Yeah, I'll just click. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Awesome. RHoK Canada, everyone. So our team.
It was a long night.
-1. Next slide. So there's part of us here. So the next slide has the names of everyone on the team. But just to introduce ourselves.
Sure. I'm Adam Singh. Yeah.
Yep. Mayelis McCardle.
Ahmed.
And Peter.
Mado's over there in the back. And now to talk about the challenge that we were trying to solve.
All right, so the challenge is, to introduce the challenge, I wanted to start with a question. So how many households are in Ottawa? Just give an estimate, like any estimate. Yeah, and no cheating, you'll probably know. Just a random, like 400,000? A bit more actually, so it's almost half a million homes in Ottawa. It's a lot of homes. And RHoK wanted to get the word out to try and get representation. A lot of votes end up not getting any representation. So RHoK wanted to get more representation, and the process was to do pamphleting in an organized way. So the problem is, how do you do a pamphleting to 500,000 homes in an organized way? It's difficult to keep track what, where, who did what. So we came up with a solution. So if you can see here, this is the paper version of the solution, but it looks a little bit better live. So we're going to go on next slide to the stack on how we develop it.
Yeah, so before we give you a demo of how everything works, we just wanted to go into the technologies that we're using, a bit for the interest of every geek here. So to start off, we started off with shape files, so like GIS data sets that we needed to turn into a way we could use, right, to extract that data and do our project. And so we wrote a Python script that converted those shape files into GeoJSON, which we then parsed and put into a MongoDB database that's hosted on AWS.
So for the front end, so once we got the data to MongoDB, the front end, sort of like, there's two aspects to it. There's like a sort of the campaign manager or somebody who's sort of facilitating everything side of the story, and then the volunteer side of the story. So we have basically two sort of, like the infrastructure is basically Rails, AWS, Bootstrap, and for the mapping software we're using OpenStreetMap just because it's open. But there's two aspects to it. So there's some functionality that is built into Rails right now. It was just like over the hackathon, we wanted to do a lot. Like we wanted to accomplish both sides of it. So there was a little bit of a sort of disconnect between how both sides work right now, but they both work in tandem to some extent. But everything is written in Rails or just JavaScript and HTML. So you want to talk about this?
Oh yeah, just quickly, this is kind of the kind of data that we started off with. We use QGIS to actually parse it out and to focus on our demo area, which was Ottawa. And then demo time, I think.
So FYI, this is actually like polling areas of all of Canada, and you can see there's like tons of them, right? So if you go into like densely populated areas like Toronto, you have like few blocks that have like many polling areas, right? So you can definitely, like the data becomes very sort of expansive. So we wanted to narrow it down a bit, and like you go from sort of that approach where you have to use a very specialized software to see what all these polling areas look like to just like a web front. So if you look over here, this is like basically we took like the Ottawa shapefile, run it through the Python script that was mentioned before, got the GeoJSON file, loaded it up. So now a campaign manager can just look at the map, click on any of the polling areas, change the status. It gives you a little bit of information that they can input about this area, so maybe the area size, but you can also add population, et cetera, et cetera. As soon as you sort of want to, so there's a couple of things like a campaign manager can do. They might want to skip canvassing a certain polling area, but they might want to do it, might not want to do it. So you can basically very easily you can go in and change the state of all of these polling areas and make it accessible. On the other side, you have the volunteer side of it. So you have like a sign up, you go sign in, you register for it, and Ankita's going to do it right now. She probably has like 1 million emails because she signed up so many times. I was like, I wasn't sure if you want to give your phone number. Cool, right? So they signed up, they gave their email address, and the cool thing is these are only the writings that have been marked to be canvassed by the admin. So if you go back to the admin side, right, and click on any of the writings, just pick any, like a big one maybe, it's more visible, maybe the Carlton one, right? And you just change from unknown to canvas and submit it. If you go back to the map on the other side, and when they're, so just click over there, right? So you'll see like all this already became available, right? So like when you sign up, you know what needs to be canvassed, and you basically just pick to assign yourself whatever canvassing area whatever area you're okay with. So let's say we click on that one, it asks you to confirm, it goes okay. And one of the other important things was we wanted like a printable format for this because like somebody's just trying to go out and like walk up to doors, right? So you want something in their hands to know where they need to go. So now you get like a printable version of it. The other side is, of course, like now that they've assigned, like a volunteer has chosen to sort of assign themselves to this polling area. If you go back to the admin side, just reload it. Right now, the little big square right in the middle turns blue. That's basically assigned, right? So it lets them see like very sort of right away what's going on, what areas need to be canvassed, et cetera, et cetera. So you have a very general highlight really fast. So yeah, so that's all we could accomplish over the weekend. We can, of course, there's more to, the more you can do to extend this, make it a little more functional. We don't have an admin log inside, for example, right now, right? That would be something that we would need to do. But yeah, so that's what we did. Yeah. All right. Is questions a thing? Okay, questions? No? Oh. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, over to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. We're the group who worked on iSisters. So a little bit of an introduction about iSisters. So iSisters is a registered Canadian charity that was founded in 2001. And their main mission is basically to connect women in need with technology to empower them and to help them with employment skills and just general life skills. Some of the challenges in general that the organization had was at first they were unsure which platform to use for their learning management system. They had an existing Moodle platform, but it wasn't used or it wasn't structured, and it was difficult to use. And it was difficult to update course content, and the data collection process was decentralized and completely on a different platform. So it was making it difficult for reporting, which was challenging when it came to grant writing and grant applications. So what we did over the weekend is we basically designed a master course template that they can use to duplicate and to replicate the course later on, and it can be highly customizable. We converted old Flash content into new, easily editable content, and created custom SQL reports, and we also updated the website with a choice of 2 responsive feeds. So now I'm going to let my teammates do the live demo.
Hi, everyone. So this is one of the themes that the iSisters had chosen. So this is the responsive design as you see. Each course is there, and it just looks a little bit neater as it goes through. There is the sponsors and partners. There is a contact us through their website. And there is the latest badges that the student or participant has learned and that. And then there is the actual courses available, sorry. And this is the website. That was the mobile version. This is the actual website itself for the demonstration. So there is the dashboard, which shows what courses they have taken and what's their overview over everything. There is the calendar to schedule events and different things like that. And yeah. So basically, some of the challenges that I had facing with this website was, you will see the next theme, content was being switched between both themes, which that was a challenge, just figuring out what was there and what wasn't. Yeah, but we're going to discuss the next theme. So, thank you.
So my theme. Hi guys. So this is Lindsay, and my name is Anna. So as she was explaining, there's areas in the learning management system that are dynamic that you can make visible everywhere. So while I was creating those areas, she was updating her pages, and she was saying, what's this new block that showed up? And I'm like, oh, sorry, that's one of mine. So we had to look at ways of organizing it so both of our themes look nice with those designs. And now for my design. So here it is. This is the mobile version. So this is the full screen version, and shortly I'll show you the mobile version. So iSisters, they wanted a website that users can log into and access from a facility, and later on, hopefully, they plan to make it where you could have modules that you could access online. So that was one of the things that they wanted us to do for them. So that's why we created a mobile version and a website version that's dynamic. We use tools like Bootstrap to make it friendly depending on which device you are using. And one of the challenges that I had is I liked Lindsay's theme, so I had to try to make my theme similar to hers. And so this is the design that I came out with. So when you hover over different areas, you can see that it shows up nicely. And then when you hover over the courses, there's a nice gray transition. Not sure if you guys can see that. And also when you log into a course, so this theme, it would show everything in a similar layout to what Lindsay has. And I'm not sure what shows up in her design, but it's all right. Oh. So I'll just go back to that. Well, this is our Moodle expert.
It's essential.
Yeah, essential. Here we go. So this is our Moodle expert. He's been helping Lindsay and I out with some of the designs. So when you go into the course, the layout would be a little bit different. So it's more of a column-based layout, and when you're actually logged in, you will see 3 columns of content. And also what iSisters wanted is they wanted a list of their partners and a list of their supporters. And I figured as an end user, I want to see the contact us on every page. So I added that at the bottom of the footer. And when you access it in the mobile version, you can see, I'll just go to the home page again. You can see that it's still user-friendly. The squares match the width of a phone or other mobile device. So you'll see everything easily, like the boxes won't compress. So I personally really like it, and now the client needs to decide which design she likes. Thank you.
Just to give you an idea of where we started. Oops. Oh. Somebody get that. I'm not a Mac person. Okay, I want to maximize that. Thank you. And how do I get to the URL? Oh. There. I'm Windows. Okay. So just to give you an idea of where we were coming from. So this is what the site used to look like. So I think it's a big improvement, and our team has worked really hard over the weekend, and we certainly hope that iSisters will be able to reach a lot of women about technology using this website.
Okay. Sorry, I was just to add on. The scope of the project is actually like pretty big. So over a weekend, we were pretty limited in terms of what we could do. But going forward, we actually want to continue help or assisting and being present for the staff at iSisters in upgrading Moodle with the latest bug and security fixes, helping them improve site security, and also just helping the staff in general familiarize themselves with the layout of the learning management system, so that they can be more independent and create things on their own as well. So, sorry. Oh, okay, it doesn't work anymore. Where do I point? Oh, there we go. And this is our team.
This is our team.
We're
and
pretty.
You are.
Oh, and I'm Hong.
And
Philip. Michael.
Lindsay.
Anna.
Come on, stand up. Stand up.
Good job, guys.
All right. Hey, everybody. We are Team 1, working with Growing Futures, doing the hydroponic monitoring system. I'm Josh, and joining me on the stage is Max, Micah, James, Harrison, almost missed that, Quinn, and Robert. Yes. Oof. Wow, that was impromptu. Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the most impressive parts of this week was learning everybody's names. So we were working with the hydroponic monitoring, or with Growing Futures to make a hydroponic monitoring system. So what were they doing? They're working with these what they call garden towers to grow vegetables, fruit, or just plants in some cases for with water and nutrients flowing up through the tower and then down into the roots of the flowers as they're in these systems. The problem is that they're a small volunteer-based organization, and they don't have a lot of resources to go around and physically check all of these towers. So they said, hey, we have this problem. How do we solve it? And in fact, they made one of the best requirement sheets I think I've ever seen for a project, and so for a volunteer thing, this was amazing. They had, these are all the things we want you guys to be able to do. And from a project manager perspective, we love great requirement sheets because it lets us do things like this. Everything you see marked off in orange, we did. So we were really proud about that. So we divided ourselves up into 4 teams: the Arduino sensor team, the Raspberry Pi team, the database backend team, and the Grafana front-end team to deal and solve with these problems. So we have a little diagram here showing the sensors giving data to the Arduino, giving data to the Raspberry Pi, which then gives data to our InfluxDB, and our Grafana front-end dashboard shows what we're up to. So I'm going to finish talking and hand it over to Micah, and he's going to talk about the Arduino sensors.
So for hydroponic monitoring system, you need a couple types of sensors. We have a pH sensor. So the pH range is between 5.5 to 6.5 for a good system, so you need to be able to monitor that daily. We have a pH sensor, an air temperature sensor, a water temperature sensor, a humidity sensor, and a water level sensor. So all those sensors get fed into the Raspberry Pi. We get data from them every however often they need it, so it's probably going to do it once an hour, and then we send that off to the Raspberry Pi. The other thing we did is we made a menu with an LCD so they can see the data in real time as they're at the station instead of having to open their phone and look at the website. They can see it right there, and they can also calibrate different sensors when the pH sensor and the flow sensor as well. So with that, I'll pass it off to James, who's working on the Raspberry Pi.
Quickly,
Oh, yeah.
also, we were able to pull this off with hardware with a $50 hardware budget. So it's really cool.
Hi, I'm James. I'm part of the Raspberry Pi team alongside my partner Charles over there. We're in charge of this small credit card size computer that acts as a bridge between the Arduino and the server and client-side interface. So first, we allow the users to input their settings. For example, when they want the lights to be on, when they want the lights to be off, as well as the optimum water level temperatures. We configure that into a config file, and then we have a Python script running that lets us use serial communication to the Arduino to extract data from the sensor. So from Micah's team, we communicate their data and we package it off into a data format that's suitable to be sent to the database. And then we use HTTP post request working with the database team, and we send that off. And a quick shout out to my teammate for creating this massive Python script that I was able to run without problems so far in 16 hours. So props to that. Props to him for that. And there he is working on that. I'm just watching. And I'll hand it off to Max.
All right, so then once we get the data from the sensor and it's processed by the Raspberry Pi, we have to send it somewhere to store and then processed by the graphic software. So we settled on the database called InfluxDB, which compared to normal databases, it's not based on schemas and tables. It's based on measurements and points, and it's all related to the time the measurement was taken. So the main primary key is the time it was measured. So all the points comes through HTTP requests and are stored in that big list of points, and then processed later on by the Grafana software to do the graphics. We also enabled HTTPS on our server. It's hosted on the Amazon Web Services. We used Let's Encrypt to use for the HTTPS, and we got a domain from Brett. Thank you. He also helped us with the service. So now I'll pass it to Allison for the Grafana.
Database stuff. So we also have just a little bit more on the system stuff because we also had to do a lot of configuration when it came to, say, the Grafana pulling from the actual InfluxDB. So it really helped out a lot because the InfluxDB is very specialized for this sort of information data over time, and then the Grafana is this interface for viewing information over time. And we're really happy about how things sort of fit together wonderfully, and how fast it was to get back online when there were incidents, because we were quickly reminded, yes, we should probably back everything up in case something bad happens in the future, and document everything so that, if someone wants to come along and build another one of these in the future, it isn't as much of a challenge. And we have all these steps in place and all this extra information and configuration all set up so that we can do it again if something goes wrong. So, and let's move on to Harrison with the Grafana interface.
Thank you, Robert. Hey guys, I'm Harrison, and I have the pleasure of presenting to you the final product of the current finished product. So here we have the Growing Futures app. You can log on to the... No, not yet. You're after. So as Michael was mentioning earlier, we track all these information, all the different sensors. So let me give you a quick overview. So we have the water level. You can see that we generated some fake data just to show what it might look like in production. And so you can see that we have 50 towers here, each one showing the water levels, the pH, light status, the pump pressure. None of this is really meaningful for jumbled. So we can also specify by tower group. So let's say there's the City Hall location. We want to see all the towers at City Hall, let's say it's group 10. We can see only towers at that one location. In contrast, we can also specify only one tower, so tower 10. And in fact, we are going to start with the live demo.
Yeah, so we had the opportunity working with the sensor team to actually try and implement these sensors. So the data you're seeing right now is fake data. It's data we generated to look like real tower data, but isn't actually real tower data. But that wasn't good enough. We wanted to implement the real tower. So we did, kind of. We'll show you what we mean here in a sec. So here's tower 20. And or 60, sorry. So here's the pump reservoir, and you can see it's at 85%, give or take. And you can see the trend as well. So our good friend Eduardo is going to move the box in front of the sensor to show the water level going down. And we should see a live update on the graph. There we go. So we dropped below 0%. We're still working on some kinks. Oh, no, we are above 0%. Good, never mind, we're good. So yeah, that's showing a live demo. Of course, this would be more over time in a real scenario. Plants don't drink that fast, but if they did, this, anyways. So that's part of our demo. So we made the poor decision though of having two demos. So in the initial presentation given to us, we were shown this diagram drawn by Quinn, who's joined us on stage. This is Rebecca's son, who's one of the people who works with these towers. And he thought, what if I had a mobile design that is simple enough that I can see all the towers I want to see, but I can use it on my phone? So we made it. So this is my phone live. So Quinn's going to open up Safari and is going to go to our app. And log in. So now we can see that he's looking at tower 60 right now, and you can scroll through and go all the way to the bottom to check some of the more basic things. So all the light status, the water flow, what the pH level is at, etc. But it's not good enough to just be able to look at one tower, so we gave the option to choose towers from the top. So you can tap on that, you can search by tower name, or you can just scroll through the list and pick another tower, and there we go, we're getting different data. So yeah, that's that. So this is a really cool project to work on. I couldn't have done it without these guys. No one could have done it without these guys. Like, I can't believe how, when we started, everyone just said, this is what we're doing, and they all became subject matter experts in seemingly minutes. So it was great. So I actually would like to give a round of applause to the team. They did an amazing job. So yeah, thank you very much.
Any questions?
Oh yeah, do we have any questions? Thank you. All right. We're good.
Great job, guys.
My name is Shan. We're the Gifts in Kind team representing Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Center. The team is Esmeralda, Claire Isabel, Ken, who had to leave a little bit early today, Dan, Jonas, Rabbi, who had to leave a little bit early, Yi, Hannah and Johnny, who couldn't be here today, Allison, and myself. So, Gift in Kind's program is really about matchmaking for in-kind donations from the community, for the community, and they currently work with 186 recipient agencies, nonprofits, charities that take in-kind gifts and actually distribute them and provide impact. So the problem that we're trying to solve is currently the program is managed by spreadsheets. So for 186 agencies, it's basically taking up all of Esmeralda's time, and then she has all this other work that has to do. And then there's the communications and the relationships with the donor and the recipient agencies, and that's very time consuming. And there's a desire to provide reporting back to the donors on what impact their donations are actually having, which again will require more time and tracking and things like that. So what we wanted to do was develop a two-way marketplace that will allow us to match donations to community needs in a way that's much more efficient, that can do automated matching, searching, ranking of agencies based on their priority, and then the ability to actually manage and track communications to make sure that people are providing feedback, they're providing back thank you notes, we're actually getting reports back on what impact there is, and donors are made aware so that we can keep them engaged. So what we managed to do, we really focused on the functional side of getting the use cases mapped out, getting the wireframes done, the process flows done. What we really wanted to come out of this weekend is provide Esmeralda with as much information as possible to go back to her organization to seek funding to develop the project. So we wanted to get all the functional stuff done at a very minimum, and then we stood up a development platform. Because of the wide variety of skills we had and picking a UI framework, and that went sideways a little bit, so we lost a couple hours. We managed to get the donation submission form done. I think that's the only live code we've got. But we had some really great discussions. Participating with us is Allison from Kind Village. So Kind Village has already built a platform for in-kind donations that is generalized for a lot of different charities, and they have their own network of donors and recipients. So we also spend a lot of time doing kind of that fit gap of what out of Kind Village we can leverage, how can we integrate through the APIs, and we have some good learnings on maybe enhancements that are needed to that platform in order to support the use cases that Esmeralda has. So I'll let Claire Isabel walk through the use cases.
Sure. So as Sean mentioned, we really try and focus on giving as much as we could on the functional side so that we are different kind can take this and continue to expand and work on that project and have this kind of roadmap that you can use to get more funding or simply just keep on improving their platform. So the platform that we try to define better definitely has three essential roles. You have an admin, which is somebody working from a different kind, and that person will need to be able to send application, receive the donation submission, manage the auctions, manage donor and recipient agencies relationship, and also, and what's very important, really manage some kind of ranking for the recipient agencies to essentially support decision making where there are too many auctions for one donations, for example. And then they also being the middleman, sending the reports and thank you back to the donors, and making sure that the recipient agency is actually go through that effort of sending back some pictures and a thank you message for the donors. As a donor, you need to be able to make a donation, to request a thank you receipt, to request a thank you feedback if you want some, and if you're a recurring donator, then you may want to receive an impact report of all the people that you've supported over the past 12 months. And then recipient agencies need to be able to register, to submit some thank you reporting, and they need to be able to browse the donations that are available and bid on the one that they are interested in, and create and manage some kind of wish list.
So we're going to walk through as quickly as we can the main use case that we really focused on, which was the idea of submitting a donation. So there's two different types of donors, a individual donor or a organizational or a company. And as you can see, there's a bunch of notifications that have to come out, and then there's a whole approval process. And we've also mapped out the whole approval process, not just the system view, but from a human perspective, what are all the actual things that Esmeralda and her team have to do in order to manage this thing? So there might be one UI, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the background, notifications. You might actually have donations that are rejected because they're not appropriate. And we'd look to have ways of automating certain rules of saying, hey, if you're trying to donate a used mattress, we'll just automatically send you a rejection letter, that kind of stuff. And then that then triggers off a whole auction and matching process that allows agencies and charities to come and bid or ask for donations that are currently available. So we've got these wireframes, again, so you can submit a donation. We've got different kind of tombstone information that's required for individuals versus corporations. And then you can enter in like some detailed information on when it's ready for pickup, can you deliver, fair market value for tax receipts. And then there's a whole administration page to review it just to make sure that the content's appropriate and then in fact the donation meets a need. And then there's approve reject. And then there's an ability to have charities and come in, actually bid and search on donations, and on every single one put in the request, how many of that particular item, and then any notes of potential impact on why you should get it. And then there's a whole bid matching process that goes on. So we can say there's a massive donation for a large amount of shares. We can then allocate it to a bunch of different different charities, and there's a scoring system based on, are they really good about sending back thank yous to their donors? Are they really good about sending tax receipts? Are they actually sending back, are they picking up the product? Because sometimes that doesn't happen. So that we make sure that, the products are actually getting into the hands that need them, and they're not sitting somewhere, and there's good relationships with the donors. And then there's a whole after the fact, so managing the relationship, so a dashboard that allows them to make sure that communications are being sent to close out bids and to send reminders. Maybe somebody forgot to send a thank you, so let's remind them and do that in a way so you're not managing it through emails and tags and things like that. So, demo. Is this supposed to be, do I have to project it to project it?
You have to do
yeah,
Windows thing? Yeah. It's on HTML1. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I don't know how to do this. These matching
So while they're doing that, in terms of the tech behind it, so the front end is React JavaScript, and then we've got a Postgres data store for all the local persistence. And then the intent was to work through the Time Village APIs. Time Village provides a lot of the backend already for managing the whole marketplace aspect, the inventory management, the matching, some of the notification framework stuff, all the metadata around like categorizations of donations. So the intent was to actually use the API to commit data so that we're not having to manage that, but all the donor and recipient information will be held in the Postgres data store.
I think it's having just a little bit to come up with HackathonRoku.
It went to sleep.
Yeah. It's just up on the HackathonRoku free instance. So the free instance tend to like to go to sleep once in a while. Does the green button actually do that now? Sure. All right. Kind of. How come I... Weird. That's a new one. Maybe if I keep scrolling, I'll get to the top. There we go. Yay. So just over general, yeah. So what Shan was saying, we chose to do everything in kind of JavaScript. So we ended up having a React front end for this. And then in the back end, we have like an Express.js application that can actually pull things in and shove things into Postgres, all kind of custom code. What you see here, however, is just a very basic application to just kind of show a little bit of how the donor administration could work. So how you could actually create a donor and make a request or send something in. We have the individuals and the organizations. So we have individuals and then we have organizations. So you can kind of see how you can switch back and forth. Our radio button is not working, so that's always fun. But overall, yeah, this is pretty much it. So you can type in some stuff and everything like that. The submit button does literally nothing. All of these things do pretty much nothing as well. But
we made wireframe.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of wireframe into this. Had a little bit of rough time doing the development, but I still think we were able to kind of give some good visualization to what it is we were trying to build here today.
So in terms of next steps, obviously we have to build out all the UIs. We're going to do, we also want to do a fit gap with the Time Village folks on their API and what can be leveraged and what may need to be extended. And then, flesh out the theme to incorporate the official logos and things like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
are the Carlington Coders, is what we like to call ourselves. Our project, we had an awesome weekend with the opportunity to work with the Ottawa Sex Trade Coalition, which has a whole bunch of organizations underneath it, including the Ottawa Rape Crisis Center. Our team, the Carlington Coders, consists of Gabby, Brandon. Anybody want to? You guys want to raise your hand? Is Gabby not here? That's Gabby. Oh, Gabby's down there. You're not coming up? All right. So Gabby, Brandon, Matt, Sahib, Tess, myself, Ray, Jacob, Oliver, and Wendy. There you go. So I'm going to start with the scope. We started at the beginning with kind of a scope of having to do two things. The first was they really wanted a harm reduction app, which would give the workers the capability to look at the location they're currently in and find centers that could help them when they were in need. So because we were such a large team, we split up into two teams, and one team took that on, and the other team worked on the other thing for about 5 minutes. And the first team was so efficient, they came back 5 minutes later, and they had discovered that it already existed, and we could just put a link on our app to it. So they were done. Fantastic. Half of the work done in 5 minutes. That's how efficient we were. So we were able to get the whole team back together and work on our second app that we wanted to do, which was a bad date list. And if anybody doesn't know what a bad date list is it's a place where workers can post any bad encounters that they had with their clients. So we worked with the coalition, and they were amazing. They were very helpful. They gave us all the information we needed. Anytime we came back to them with questions, they were very, very helpful. We identified that there were two main actors in our system, the users, which would be the workers, and then the moderators. And the reason why the two were so important is because the users gave all of the information that was necessary, but we needed the moderators to make sure that the information remained anonymous enough that people weren't exposed, but at the same time kept the workers as safe as could be. So the moderator's job was to go through what the workers put in and find what best could be made public out of that information. We started with that, and we broke up into basically two teams. We had a front-end team and a back-end team. So I'm going to let a couple of the other people here, I think it's either... All right, Matt's going to talk about the front end and what they did and how they broke things apart. And then I'm going to have Taz and Oliver talk briefly about the back end.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt. So in terms of the front end, we had a few ideas and a few requirements. Initially, we had the idea of doing a serverless app, something that could run on a phone and on a computer, something that maybe could be installed on your phone as an app. We also needed to make sure that the UI reflected what the coalition needed, so we had Brandon do a whole bunch of mock-ups, validating those things, while Gabby and Sophia and I started working on the pretty much scaffolding and starting building the components. In terms of the tech stack, we used React for our components in terms of the interaction with all the elements on the screen. To help speed up the process, we used Material UI to build the visual components like the text boxes and things like that. And kind of to wrap it all up, we used Webpack to bundle pretty much like dozens of files into maybe 6 files that would automatically get sent to Amazon S3, which is the cheapest way to run a website. It could be like probably free for the first while, depending on how much on the usage, really. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. It was pretty awesome. It went really, really fast with React, and hope you guys like the demo.
Yeah, you can go to the actual.
Hi guys, I'm Taz. So I'll walk you through a little bit about our approach for trying to bridge the two teams together. We basically used AWS to fullest of its capabilities. This is our stack. We are using React for the front end. We are using AWS API gateways. All of our backend logic is written in Python, in Lambda functions, and then we're using DynamoDB in the backend. We also were a bit eager, and we have logs with CloudWatch as well, so we can have pretty little graphics. And everyone in the team was very good in carving out responsibilities and works of pieces. But we had a front-end group and a back-end group with a lot of data that we were trying to capture. So one of the things that we ended up doing was agreeing upon an API standard. So we used JSON REST web services, and we first created the contracts based on the requirements that were captured, and we used Swagger for mocking them up, and we actually created our API gateways in AWS from that. And so what that meant was that we could like really do extreme programming and make sure that there's not a lot of bad glitches towards the very end. So that's kind of like the lay of the land, and then I'll have you talk a bit more about the compute.
Sure. So my name's Oliver, and I can say a little bit more about the Lambda functions and DynamoDB for those who are less familiar with those two technologies. So DynamoDB is a NoSQL database, and the really nice thing in this project is that being NoSQL means that you don't have to worry about the schema, the database, so you really can start very quickly. You basically identify what your top-level tables are, and whatever data comes in, as long as you have a high-level agreement on what those objects are, dump them in the database, and deal with it after that in your code. So it's a nice way to start quickly, and eventually you can migrate that to more complex database if you want. But so this was very practical for this weekend. The other Amazon feature that we used was Lambda functions, and so those basically allow for a serverless implementation. What that means is basically we don't have to provision any virtual machines, Docker containers, no orchestration. We basically tell the Amazon services, here are our functions, here's a bit of code. When the REST API, I'm sorry, it's on there. That's all right. When the REST API is called upon, call this function, call this code. There's nothing else for you to write about. You just have to focus on the logic of that code, which basically is the bridge between the database and the REST API. Okay, so that's it.
So in terms of issues that we came across with, one was some networking issues, as Brett said. The two big hiccups were that we lost Wi-Fi for a little bit, which stunted us because we were working all in AWS. And then we got hacked, which shut us down for a little bit of time too. But I think the biggest issue that we had was also kind of the coolest, which is that there was a lot of learning that we got to do while we were doing this project too. A lot of us didn't know a lot of the AWS stuff that we were working with. I personally hadn't done very much Python coding beforehand, so while we were able to implement this and do something really good for the community, we were also able to learn, which was cool. So now I think we will actually show you what we ended up coming up with. And for that, I got Brandon and Satya.
All right, so here we are on the home screen of the AWS app. I'm just going to go log in right here. We are I'm just going to log in. And what I'm going to do right now is at the bottom we have a create button, and we're going to create a new incident report. So we can select what type of incident occurred, theft, harassment, somebody was creepy. So just select whatever, continue on next. I broke this down into step-by-step, because nobody really likes filling out long forms. So it's easier to digest and makes it look a little bit nicer. Select when did this date occur, whatever. Okay, go next. Where did this incident occur? Ideally, we would have like some sort of Google Maps integration here, but given the time constraints, we couldn't really get to that, so we'll just enter, whatever Bell next. Who is the aggressor? Now, to note, like, you don't have to fill out all of this. Like, you can just completely skip all this. So I'm just going to do that because I'm lazy. What were they driving? Make, model, type, car, plate number. You know, just to have a better understanding of who's driving what. Anything else about the incident? Whatever. And do you want us to contact you? So the idea here is that if you need some help post-incident, then somebody will reach out to you about that. We haven't quite fully implemented this yet, but I'm sure we will get to that at some point. So we go submit, and we have our incident now created. A little bit of a bug there, but whatever. And then we have our list of reported incidents here. So we can search by keyword, whatever. We can sort this information by date, location, license plate. We could probably add more there.
Yeah, so sort doesn't work. Okay. but the search has a lot of other things to do. Matt was talking about how this app should be very available to everybody. So we're thinking of a phone app or a website. So we decided to use some new technology that we learned called progressive web apps. So that's just building a website and enhancing it by taking advantage of what's called a service worker, which is a background thread that works. So because we created this as a single page application, we're able to pull down the data and then install it on your phone. Once you install it on your phone, it's a real live app that feels like an app. iOS doesn't have all the features, but this makes it very easy for a user to open up the app, make the report, go. And that's to PWX.
And that's pretty much it. We can also filter this by like only your instance that you've created. You can expand this and then you see all the information about that particular incident. Obviously, there's still some bugs there, but oh yeah, it's cool. Awesome. Okay. All right. And then we have a resources page that has a bunch of numbers and contact information. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So in terms of, we had some challenges about the fact that our users, anonymity is a very big thing for them. So if you notice with the login and the sign up are pretty much the same. All we require is a username from them. Nothing else that identifies them. And then one of the other things that when they were showing off the list is the fact that you have these. So these are the public ones, which would be the curated information that the moderators have broken down. And then when you're looking at your own incidents, there you go. This is where it gets a lot more detailed about the stuff that you've filled in. So yeah, that's it. Anybody have any questions? Which one? Oh yeah, so yeah, there is. Oh, do I know what it is? Is it in? So what the client wanted, what the coalition was looking for, was a website where you could see your current location, and then you could see centers around you that could, well, not just centers around you. So you could see like center, like safe, I guess safe injection site type places to get free condoms. Also places that might be open 24 hours, you know, if they're working somewhere at 1 in the morning and they need a place where they need to go to feel safe, that kind of stuff. So that's the resource that they were looking for. And I don't know the exact, is that on here? What, were you in that group?
No.
It's because we found that these services were currently provided by other organizations, and there was a website that gives you this information. So from this app, we just gave the link to that without reproducing all the information again.
We don't remember the actual site offhand. Right?
Yeah.
The city's open data.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if.
No, but there was one specific, because somebody was there and they said yes, we already have this, and there was a specific site that we went to. We went through the information there, and we thought that's enough for what the requirement was. But we might have it.
Yes.
So this is what we came up with now, but the idea is that the copy on the actual app is going to be very straightforward about what's happening. So on the front page, it'll indicate like this is all the information we need from you. We're not asking for a phone number, blah blah blah, anything else like that. When it comes to creating listing your incidents, we're going to make it obvious of what you're seeing as public versus private, and we're going to make sure that they know that the moderator will do the curating. And part of the contact, part of that process was so that the moderator could go back and forth with the person. And one of the things we were looking to implement, we didn't get to it for this, was to have a comments capability for each incident. So a moderator could come back to the worker with a question or something on the report, and they could go back again. And so there's still the anonymity that they want while giving the moderator what they need to get this information. Oh, another one? Or are we have no time? Out of time, all right.
All right, one more demo to go through.
Yeah.
What's up? Get out of your way. All right.
Welcome to Code My Robot. Just before we start, I'm May, and I'd just like to thank the team. So Tim, Rob, Rick, Nathan, me, Mark, Helen, Aaron, Alan, and Ali. So I'll just pass it on to Helen.
Yeah, thanks, May. So as May mentioned, we're the Code My Robot team, and we came together this weekend to help Rick, who was just up here, really scale Code My Robot. He started about 2 years ago, and it's grown a lot since then. And over the past 6 months, they've introduced a new concept called challenges. And the challenge, we're there. Okay, so the challenges are really neat in that the librarians put together all the robots, bring the students, and they have different challenges. Those challenges are then posted to the website. And it's really taken off. But the bottleneck was the website. All of the videos were contained on the shared hosting, and we were at risk of it filling up and not working. So we came together this weekend to figure out how to solve that. And what we did was we identified 3 challenges. The first one was that the storage was not scalable. So thanks to random acts of kindness, we got access to Amazon's S3. We had a great team that helped us there. The second was Rick was not scalable yet. So Rick
failed. You consider still just one of them.
So Rick would have to get an email, download the video, review it, and then put it on the website. Works in the short term, not in the long term. And then finally, a big issue is its students at schools is privacy policy and guidelines for minors. So we had an excellent team that came together and we solved a lot. I'll hand it over to Mark.
All right, so I'm just going to kind of go between the before and after here. So there's Rick. We got partway through the scaling, and then it just all fell apart. So basically what we're aiming for is at the top of this page here. We need to connect users to content and better protect minors, scale the storage. They had a big problem. They were anticipating thousands of people using their system, and they were already hitting the limits of what they had. And we had to come up with a solution for scaling Rick or an alternative, a workaround. So the system that we were starting with, they had a challenge form. A user would log into their website, upload the video of the robot challenge that they had successfully completed, and then after the upload, an email would go to Rick. And Rick would download the video, download the code, look at the video, look at the code, verify it all, then upload it all back to the site, and then manually edit the front of the site to show the video, and then the user could view their code. So there are 2 challenges right here that we're looking at. We're looking at the initial contact with the user, and then also this whole Rick being a finite individual problem. So
This is what we implemented to try and fix that. So I'm just going to go through the before and after, then we're going to do a demo. So Aaron and Nathan worked diligently to set up a registration page. They went through COPPA regulations to look at protection for minors, made a user agreement, and did a number of other modifications to the web page, set up a login page so that users would authenticate, and so that there was some kind of, and users in this case are teachers, not the minors themselves, but there's still some kind of responsibility for accountability there. And at that point, I feel like this mic's going on and off here, maybe it's just the way I'm facing. At that point, after logging in, the user can upload their challenge video. And then we did a RHoK workaround. Tim worked on it so that now the video goes up to an approval page, and RHoK can look at the page, see the videos that are there, click approve, and then it's automatically sent to a gallery. So there's no more downloading, uploading, and all that. So we still have a RHoK scaling problem, but the problem's smaller. We've put it off into the future. And we also, Tim also added a search capability to that page, so now the users can look for the videos that are part of their team, added some additional fields so that just the interaction with the website was better. And then we have the other big problem of scaling. So when we started this problem, I think it was one of the things that RHoK emphasized in the initial presentation. They were on shared hosting with limited storage. We discovered that if you uploaded another video with the same name, it overwrote the previous video with the name. The code was in being submitted as RTF and PDF, which either is over-formatted or something that can't be processed later easily. And we had concerns about, arbitrary comments in the code being transmitted arbitrarily to individuals in the world and the kinds of things that teenagers write in their code. So we thought it might be better to modify that. So the first thing that happened was WordPress and the resources for the WordPress site. We didn't move away from WordPress. You can only do so much in a weekend. But Nathan and Aaron did a lot of work massaging WordPress into the site into a nicer, more friendly site. And also it was moved to a scalable VPS so that as resource needs increase, they can scale with that. And then we implemented, moved the storage to Amazon S3. So in a very logical storage mechanism, we implemented unique file IDs so that the files couldn't overwrite each other. We changed the text, the coding of the code files to text for later processing, and we added a logging element. And I think that Rob will tell you a little bit more about how we did that, but in general, we didn't get to processing the video and processing the code, but it's all set up now in such a way that the video is easily accessible. It can be processed, maybe made black and white, maybe cropped. Audio removal is something to protect, again, minors and just make sure that the only thing on the site is what you want on the site. And code processing, there are lots of things you can imagine doing with those text files as well to make the code the standard process and make sure that you have control over the information that's there. So that's basically what we did, and I think Rob is going to take you through a demo, and I'll click things as we do that. And I'll pass it over to Rob. I'm just going to, So we're going to start with uploading a file. So you talk me through this, and I will.
Okay, so this is, I guess, setting up the fields for the two files that we're going to upload, which are the video of the robot doing the challenge and the code. This is, again, like Mark said, all still using WordPress. And there you go. So there is a view somewhere on on there, if you want, just showing the S3 bucket. So you have it over there.
So can you approve that?
Can I not approve it?
Okay, well, I'll explain what happened behind the scenes.
All right,
So like the previous team, we took advantage of S3 and the Amazon Lambda functions. And the way that we're using the functions now were to accommodate those different file processing that we were talking about. So they're more a trigger-based function where an object lands in S3 and then we handle it one way or another depending on if it's a video or a text. So at the moment we have that all set up and we are just logging. So which is an important function as it is for audit trails, keeping track of what's going on.
So that's where we are. The plumbing's there ready to go for the other pieces. We were working on them yesterday, just didn't get enough time. Video processing happens to be pretty hefty and tough. So
while Rob was talking, the video I just uploaded was approved over here, and you can see it's now been added to the gallery. So that was an automatic process, much easier than before. And
you can go to S3 and just
yeah.
Yeah, so you can see how the files are appended with the EUID, just to keep them unique. Oh. Yeah. So nothing too magical there. They're organized by day right now. Director structures could be anything from school to challenges, whatever. And then the typical logs, the cloud watch logs. You can click on the front first one if you wanted to just see what's happening. But anyhow, that's sort of the back end. It's not too magical, but it was nice that it didn't affect the WordPress. So we stuck with WordPress, added this extra functionality without affecting anything on the front end there. So.
You want to say one more thing?
Sure.
So, there we go.
I need to go to the website. Yeah, so May and I, and also Aaron, rewrote some of the documentation to make it more intuitive. So we made a quick start guide to using the robot. That basically says how it works. I rewrote some of the code and put it for the Arduino and put it in a more intuitive way so that when someone was starting out with the software, they would be able to easily use it. We did diagrams and stuff.
All right. So thank you to everyone. It was a great experience working with these guys. Thank you. Save your laptop.
Maybe just a quick point on the networking that Brett was talking about. Aaron, at the hackathon, Aaron works at Charlton with developing a partnership that does events in the summer. So that partnership now open and we might work on something. And I think there was another consultant here from the school board. So I think you're going to do a meeting thing afterwards. But if you see anything that you like,
Well, Rick said, yeah, do that. Okay, guys, that's a wrap. That's all the projects. It's a great weekend. Thank you for everyone that came out to watch the presentations. I know that everyone is super proud of the work they did. So thank you for coming out. Thank you to everyone that contributed and participated. A big round of applause for all the developers here. Big thank you to all the organizations that put together the projects. It's no small feat. We spent the last 2-3 months curating and crafting the project so that they work right in the in this kind of setting. And so we spent a lot of time on that, and we worked with all these organizations to get it right. So thanks to them. Thank you, Brandon, for helping out. And Aaron for doing all Twitter. I mean, it's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for the network and all the support. Thank you. So there'll be some very little time for networking after, but we'll be wrapping up. But stay in touch with us through Twitter. Sign up for the newsletter so that you get notified when the next one is. The next Random Hacks Kindness will be October 12th, 13th, 14th. It's set, it's booked, it's happening. What's next is we need to get the projects coming in. So spread the word. We're looking for projects for the next hackathon. And I hope to see you all out. Thank you again, and we'll see you in October. Thank you, everyone.